All right, guys, thanks for sticking out until the very end. I appreciate it. And Billy, this is a fantastic event. This has been really, really interesting. So while we hold this up, I'll just start talking through this. Choosing this topic was an absolute terrible idea, and I'm full of regret. So welcome to the last 15 minutes. It was a really, really good idea for a couple of reasons. 3 reasons that I should not have chosen this topic is A, I have no clue what the hell is going to happen when it comes to AI and SEO and PR, and that's literally all I'm supposed to talk about, which is an issue. You can leave it, that's okay. The second reason is that today we heard about translations that unlock access to the entire world. We talked about very inspiring content, how you write for customers. We talk about these really inspiring things, and SEO, as amazing as it is not inspiring, right? It's like getting these types of updates. Sorry about it, there's still a screenshot from Asana, but getting these types of things of like, hey, we got to tweak like H2s in order to rank better. This is not what we got into marketing for, right? That's not what we wake up. It's not what animates us every single day. And the last thing is like PR and SEO have really nothing to do with each other, right? They feel like very, very separate. They feel very, very disconnected. But once I started to think about this, after committing to this topic, it started to get a little bit more interesting for me. Is it possible to get up on the screen too? Or, I mean, it's like something. Anyway, so what this topic is going to be about is my best thoughts on running SEO and running PR in 2025. Because it's not the same as doing it 5 years ago or 10 years ago. This is something that's evolving. I'll just say the most important part right up front, which is that this changes literally every single day. And I think coming to events like this, reading online and experimenting yourself is absolutely the best way that you can nail this. Just a quick word about myself. I'm Eytan Buchman. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Kratos. This has been my first job in tech, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I am obsessed with AI, and I've been leveraging a lot. And I think that's where I get some of the insights that I'm talking about over here. I also really like freight. But who doesn't? Cool. Okay. So, since I already decided to do this, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about why listen to me. I think it's something that you should ask every single speaker at any event. Why on earth should I trust you for any of this? Second of all, where SEO and PR are losing right now. Third of all, why marketing as a whole is losing. This is not going to be channel specific. How we climb out from there, how we really scale up from here, and then breathe, because I have 58 slides to do in 15 minutes, and I talk very, very quickly. Going. It's 3 slides. I don't remember the next slide. Hey, okay, why listen to me? So listen to me because I have a lot of money in the game. We drive somewhere around 7-digit revenue from inbound alone, mostly from SEO and PR. A lot of it comes from brand. Unfortunately, people here from Fredo, so I can't make up stuff. But it's about 7-figure digits that come from inbound. We have a lot of skin in the game, and this is something that keeps me up at night. Last year, I had a very, very full head of hair. I wasn't down to my shoulders. And similarly, on the PR side, we do hundreds of publications every single year. We run a very, very robust data marketing game that's based on content and based on brand and really targets large, upmarket, B2B organizations. I have a lot of skin in the game myself, and because I think about this all the time, it's a topic that's been on my mind, and I think I have what to share. So SEO, PR, not as different as I thought, for 3 reasons. The first is acronyms, right? Yay! Does anybody here know what HDMI stands for? Media interface, yeah. USB, dyslexia. Anybody USB? UPS? This is free. Yes, okay, fine. So PR and SEO we all know, right? Anyway, that's one stupid slide. Why they're not so different? They both can cost a ton of money. Kratos uses Kahina, we're very happy with them as an SEO agency. Random shout out, they didn't ask for this. But it costs a ton of money. SEO and PR both can be incredibly expensive and can be an incredibly expensive way to set money on fire if you don't use it correctly. And third of all, and most importantly, they are both gatekeepers. So what do we mean by gatekeepers? They are a source or a single channel that curate demand, curate interest, and end up owning it and become the only way that us as marketers can access audiences at scale. So kind of diving into that exact idea, the way these things typically tend to work is that there's a ton of information somewhere, right? There's information floating around in the ether, and somebody says, hey, we need to make sense out of this information. right? So an editor at the New York Times or TechCrunch, their job is to curate information. So take all the PRs that we all send to them very annoyingly and say, hey, this one matters, this one doesn't matter. Similarly with Google, their job is to take all the information that's online, curate it, become a gatekeeper, and then make it more accessible for users. And this is where I think they are very, very, very similar, and where I think we have a lot to learn. Because something always breaks. These gatekeepers are constantly evolving, and my favorite new example is what happened to the internet, and specifically where that brings ChatGPT. So I only remember AOL as a CD in my cereal box growing up, but if you go back right now and look at it, what's really interesting about AOL is AOL did not connect you to the internet. AOL connected you only to AOL. They owned all of the content, and it's one of the reasons that they merged with Time Warner. AOL Internet was accessing only AOL content, and they curated demand. They were gatekeepers. What happened after that is Yahoo popped up, right? And Yahoo curated information that was on the entire internet, but they were still gatekeepers because they had a list of all the different links that were there. I hope this is like making people feel nostalgic. So basically went from, okay, they own the information, AOL owns all the information, to Yahoo being the first real gatekeeper and saying, hey, this is what matters. And if Freitas wants to get in front of people before we were actually a company, we would need to get listed there. After that, Google's like, screw that. We can just connect you to the entire information, and we can find the entire internet, and we can find the exact right content for you and soft serve it. And then we all broke it because of SEO, right? We made sure that sometimes totally irrelevant information shows up, and right now if you look at SEO and you search any specific topic, if you look for, I don't know, if you look to buy a new washing machine or a new vacuum cleaner, you're gonna get a ton of affiliate links and spam, mostly from these large media conglomerates that were purchased by private equity companies. It's falling apart and breaking, and now what's happening is ChatGPT is saying, we could just give you all of that information. We could soft serve it for you. We can take the best of the best of the best and serve it to you, and it's a brand new gatekeeper. And as marketers, it's a really, really scary gatekeeper. Because suddenly we can't even track what we're doing. We're working on a ton of content. I'd be shocked if there's anybody here that doesn't have content as part of their playbook. And we can't track how many people are necessarily reading it, always. We can't track attribution for this particularly easier. And the LLM already knows somewhere between 10 to 90%, a helpful statistic, made up on the spot, of all the things that your content team is going to write. Right? So what do we actually bring to the table right now? Similarly on the PR side, the PR gatekeepers are dying as well, right? This is TechCrunch's traffic based off of HubSpot, right? Things are on Ahrefs. Things are not going well in TechCrunch land. And if you look at other publications, if you take CNN for example, if you walk into a subway in New York and use that as a representative size of the population, of the 200 people on a subway car, 4 of them will have watched CNN that month, 90 of them will have listened to Joe Rogan, specifically in New York. It's insane, and Joe Rogan is not a great example, and CNN is not necessarily a great example, but the difference in what is happening to these media gatekeepers is absolutely shocking. Similarly, reporters do not have time. There's a VC-backed media publication that raised about $80 million and then collapsed and burned. This was a reporter who was laid off when they closed it. I don't know if you can see it, but he said that over the last 8 months he wrote 630 stories. Now you know that if you're writing 630 stories, you're not investing in it, you don't have time to curate the right information, you're not a good gatekeeper, and things start to fall apart. Finally, we don't read publications. I don't know how often you go to the Wall Street Journal homepage or to the Atlantic or New Yorker homepage, just saying those publication names to sound smart. Usually what happens is you get an article forwarded to you. Right? There's somebody else that is curating the different articles and then you end up consuming it from there. So even when you're consuming media, you're not necessarily even looking at the media as a gatekeeper. ChatGPT is trying to gatekeep the media. ChatGPT has licensed deals, or OpenAI has licensed deals with every single one of these publications. And my slide software is pretty wonky, so it goes on much farther after this as well. But they are trying to take all of the information that publications have, because it's real-time and relevant information in many cases, and soft serve it to us. Most importantly for all these the gatekeepers is what I'm going to trust again on here, which is that we don't trust anything we read anymore. Right? You don't trust your ROI case studies that you read from publications. You don't trust speakers when they have skin in the game and are trying to push their own product. You don't trust things that you read on news. You don't trust influencers that you consume. There's no trust left in the world, and that's a real issue as well. And that's, I think, a much bigger issue for marketers, and I don't have a solution for that. But where does that leave us? Nowhere. You're screwed. Go home. So the good news is that I don't think this is going to happen overnight. There really is a very, very long timeline for how change happens. And you definitely still have people that are sitting in their office using Internet Explorer from 5 years ago and searching on Bing and coming up with information about what's happening on Yahoo, but it is happening, right? This is something that's really happening. I meant to pull a chart over here. I'm starting to see high single-digit number of signups for us that are coming from ChatGPT from an attribution perspective. So this is definitely something that is slowly happening, but these things tend to be very, very gradual and then very, very subtle. Right? That's like the Ernest Hemingway thing. So this is, you've probably seen this floating around. This is the HubSpot SEO chart that's been going around where they dropped a ton of their traffic. I actually think they did the right thing, but they lost, you can see they went down from 24 million in January 2023 to 6 million hits in January 2025. That's not great. And the number of domains that are getting traffic from ChatGPT is also going up. Unfortunately for me, my thesis is not proven correct with those last couple of lines, but pretend like you don't see that. It's all going up. So what can we do about it? Again, caveat, I don't know, because this is all very, very new. Even though they're the exact same problem, right, the death of these traditional gatekeepers, I think the solution for both of them does differ a little bit. SEO is different in that it's very, very data-driven. And this is where one of the questions that we have to ask ourselves is, what are we trying to accomplish with the SEO? Right? What is our underlying goal of that SEO? Because it actually branches out into two very different solutions. Right? Are we talking about brand? Are we using SEO content and more people consuming our content in order to get more eyeballs, in order to get our brand in front of more people? So for me, a good example of that is Superhuman had a great playbook where they would take some very, very deep topics, analogies from computer games, and using that for customer journeys. Or the product market fit framework that most people here have probably read from Superhuman. That was a pure brand play. Versus conversions, which is something that we're more focused on, trying to get more people to come to your website, sign up, and start using it so you have money and you can retire and go to a beach in the Bahamas. So my take right now is that ChatGPT as a whole, content on ChatGPT, people consuming my content on ChatGPT, if it's for brand purposes, it's amazing. But if I'm really focused only on conversions, then it can be killer because you're not going to get, I don't know how many people have ever clicked on a source on ChatGPT or on Perplexity, but it's not, I mean, I've done it too, you're not alone, but you don't do it nearly as much. More times than not, just like Google, it'll be a zero-click search, right? So this is, I think, actually the main meat that I have here, which is that if you're looking at brand for ChatGPT, right, or LLM, EL, or whatever you want to call this, like SEO optimization for ChatGPT, the first thing for right now is the standard SEO rules still apply. Right? It's exactly the same game when it comes to ChatGPT is prioritizing the exact same content that was ranking well already. So you keep on running that exact same SEO playbook. And I'll show you how I know that this works in a couple of minutes. The second thing is making it as accessible and structured as possible. If you've made a habit of playing around with RAGs or playing around with LLMs yourself, you know that the more accessible and structured information is, the more the computer will like it. So cater to the computer with those listicles. The very, 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 very long tail. ChatGPT is going to end up creating these infinitely long tail search queries that nobody in their right mind would ever go into Google and type in. And this is very, very helpful for us, right? Because you put in like 3 different lines and ChatGPT takes that and turns into a paragraph of a search that they're putting out there, and you can really cater to that long tail. If you have domain authority and the best information there, you're going to get people coming to you. Fourth thing is variable data. If you have information that changes a lot, then ChatGPT will need to keep on coming to you and keep on using that information in order to grab it from you and then source it. And then the last thing is, this isn't like a tip as much as understanding that if you want to rank on Perplexity or ChatGPT, they have slightly different playbooks, and you can look online and figure out exactly what those are. But ChatGPT is going to be more catered towards professionals because of the fact that Microsoft is pushing it so aggressively right now. Right? Whereas ChatGPT has better presence in the United States, Perplexity has far better presence with young professionals in the United States. So really understanding the different models, I don't know how many people here are optimizing, working on SEO optimization for Bing, but you certainly don't want to be caught in that same situation trying to optimize for the wrong LLM. So for now this works. This is probably the best cold outreach that I've ever gotten from Tomer Dean. They just started a new company, they're local here, called Am I on AI, which gives you search results and shows how you're ranking on ChatGPT. Thank you, Tomer. This was, I think, the best time outreach I've ever had. Tomer sent me a message last night saying, hey, was just looking at Freightos. When it comes to results in ChatGPT, Freightos is at the top. We're beating out FedEx, UPS. My favorite part is we're beating out Reddit. And it's not that we're running a particular ChatGPT-centric playbook right now. And that's why I go back to this previous slide over here. It's the same standard SEO rules. If you are a monster from an SEO perspective, and you have built up domain authority and domain credibility, you're still going to rank in these LLMs. Very, very cool. Definitely talk to Tomer afterwards. It was awesome. Very, very cool to see, mostly because we were doing well. When it comes to on-site, right, so this is less on the brand side and more about the on-site conversions. My main piece of advice would be, while we're still getting traffic to our websites, before ChatGPT swallows everybody, grab those users and turn them into an owned audience. Right? Drive as much value as you can to get people registering for your email list, because the party's going to stop eventually. It may not be next year, it might be the year after, or 2 years from now, but we need to own those users, and you need to take advantage of the time right now to do it. What I would do from an on-site perspective, if I'm pushing people to try to come to my website, the first thing I would do is content go much more towards interactive. And this is something that we've done for 10 years and it's been very, very successful for us in the past. Build calculators, build estimators, build little tools. This on the right side is something that we're launching next week. We wrote a white paper, and instead of just offering it as a PDF, we're letting people choose from 2 or 3 different drop-downs and generate their own report on demand based off of the insights from the report and the underlying data from the report. And ChatGPT can't replicate that because it's interactive, gated information that we have that's using ChatGPT on the back end. The second thing is more valuable data and more real-time marketing, making sure that you're constantly staying up to date and sharing real-time information that matters right now that you know that the users will want to keep on coming back to your website for. This is not perfect for every business. It works really well for us because freight prices change a lot, as you all know. The third thing is driven credibility, making sure that you use humans as much as possible. The voice of the customer before was really, really helpful. I think making sure that you're using your customers, using your employees to make sure that you're pushing the fact that you're a real human, I think that will help on the trust to get on side of thing. I would recommend dropping low intent focus if this is your main idea. If you're really going after SEO for on-site, and I think this is my excuse for what happened with HubSpot. I think they say we can't fight the battles on all the fronts. We need to focus on where we can actually convert and really prioritizing those transactional. I'm going to go faster. So for example, for us dropping low intent traffic for parts of Freighthouse.com, we're getting rid of some translations, search terms like shipping container houses, which might have a lot of search terms but do nothing for our business, and really focusing on what matters for us. On the PR front, as I said before on SEO, go for owned as much as possible. Build up your own media brand, build up your own email lists in order to get in front of people yourself. Second of all, niche down really, really hard. For us, a publication like Supply Chain Dive, I don't know how many people here are subscribing to that, is better than TechCrunch because it's getting in front of the right people that actually trust Supply Chain Dive instead of trusting TechCrunch. Find who your users trust and go after those publications and don't waste your time on those New York Times big swings. Even if you get it, it's not going to drive as much leads or as much value as you think. Finally, this is Eric Johnson. He's a tech editor for the Journal of Commerce. This is a relationship I've cultivated for 10 years, and it drives immense value for us. Building the relationships with those individual media gatekeepers that are still seen as authorities of trust is by far the best way you could spend any PR time, and I think that you can probably do that more effectively internally than externally using outsourced PR. Finally, broaden what you define as reporters, go after analysts, go after email newsletters and Substacks, and go after the small domain podcasts. Finally, I'm just going to finish up here. Thank you for the patience, Billy. The way that we can fight this trust to get on idea, terrible name, I'm going to revise this next time, but is credibility, right? Focusing on where can you actually prove that you know what you're talking about and you're bringing value to the table and people can trust you and forget everything else. And second of all, finding the right connections, finding the right gatekeepers where you are able to take the trust that you want to build and actually inject it and pass it over to your users. This is what's going to be important. It's the right information in front of the right people and only focusing on those right people. So just to wrap it up, the bad gatekeepers are disappearing. There's better ones that are coming out to play. We need to earn trust more than ever. We need to drive more value than ever, whether it's on SEO or PR. And then this is just stupid alliterations. Ignore that, and that's it. So thank you very much for your time.